So we've got a lot of stuff. And so I bought a kit. Yeah. I'm just going to let you gander at that while I'm doing all this. So you got a USB-C programming cable. You've got a vibration plate. This right here would be the flight controller for a drone, would mount on this. These rubber pieces would be in between, spanning the gaps to allow that to vibrate so it's not shocking the controller. And here we have a M8N GPS module. And this is the mounting hardware for that particular module. And this looks like almost exactly the same setup as the module in the drone build that we're doing. So we get here, and that goes with the Pixhawk. We get a micro SD card adapter card. Not really anything special to it. I don't think there's a micro SD in it. I'm just interested to see what this stuff in here is. So you got the micro SD. You have to supply your own SD card. I assume that would be to plug into the Pixhawk for data logging and just whatever. So you have controllers to allow connections of certain items to the controller. You've got two connections here, so I assume you have a, let's see, beep and safety. I don't know yet what a safety button is on a drone. I assume it would be something maybe you can push to enable the drone so you can safely pack it around and not accidentally turn the blades in your hand. The buzzer would be just exactly that, to emit beeps or whatever. But my assumption would be the button would be something that once you put the drone where you want it, then you hit that button and it's armed or enabled. Then you back up, got your controller, arm it, do whatever. This would be a button on the drone itself as a protection against it turning in your hands. That's what I would think that a button on the drone itself would be. Potentially a button to turn the drone on. In other words, same thing I just said, to activate the drone. And so that's what I would see that for. And you got, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 6 connector cable. You have another, what is that? Is that a 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another 6 connector cable with regular wire ends. And you have a 1, 2, 3, 4 connector cable and 3 connector. And this right here, I would believe this would be power for something, most likely. And then I think I spoke on one drone about power modules and the battery connection. So this is the battery connection. This would be one end the battery plugs into, the other end hooks into the drone itself to supply the main power. And so this would be a pass-through connection to go from the battery to the board to supply directly to the ESCs, electronic speed controllers, that are connected to the batteries. I mean, not the batteries, the motors. And then you have a another wire coming off of that ESC back to the controller or flight controller to control the speed, pitch, direction, everything on the motors, how fast they turn and all that good stuff. But this right here is a offshoot coming off of this. Now, they don't all have this board bridged in between. This was a pass-through, but this right here is taking whatever its rating is, which does this say? I don't know. wow, this thing takes up to a 12S battery. A 2 to a 12S battery. It can take that input, and then it will put out 5.3 volts at 2.5 amps. So this is going to go and supply your flight controller. And so on the APM 2.8 and 2.5 that I have, if you want to use this connection in that PW slot to plug it in, you have to take that jumper off on that side, that one end, so that you don't deadhead power from coming back from your motor controllers to the board as you're supplying power to the board through this connection right here. So you pull that jumper so these don't deadhead against one another. Or you don't plug this in at all. Leave the jumper on the APM flight controller and power it backwards through the motors and their connections to the flight controller. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a power module plugging into the flight controller to supply its power. Now let me talk a little bit and about what I have heard talked about and read on the internet about powering the controller, and it makes real good sense. And I apologize in advance, Raja. I watched a video from him, and that's where I learned about a lot of this stuff from, was watching him. And he was explaining it, and it made perfect sense. So when you're not using a power module, you're just using a straight through cable like this to supply voltage to the back plane on the drone going to the motors. Okay. Your battery will, as your motors draw hard, your battery will drop. It'll lose amperage, it'll lose voltage, and it'll drop down who knows how low. It's not dead. It just draws it down because of what all's being pulled out of it. Then when the heavy maneuver stops, the battery picks back up to full voltage. So during that drop, you are also experiencing, when you're powering it backwards through your ESCs on each of your motors connected into this, they also experience a power drop, which would potentially cause your flight controller to stall. If your lights dim in your house and your TV resets or turns off and you have to manually turn it back on again, that's kind of the same thing. And not using one of these and powering this through the ESCs can potentially cause it to have a brownout condition to where it stops and reboots and everything shuts down, drone falls out of the air, possibly over a lake or canyon. But with this right here, you supply your voltage through this, and this right here, you got capacitors on here, and this board right here is a buck converter. It's got to be a buck converter because it's taking a higher voltage and dropping it to 5.3 volts at a pretty high amperage, but it's dropping the voltage down. So that's bucking. That's resisting the higher voltage down to a lower voltage to operate the controller. And so these are like, I guess you can consider these to kind of be a sponge, okay? You're running water in the palm of your hand and you shut the water off, and it just, in no time, it drains off your hand and it's gone. Well, you have a sponge in your hand and you're draining water on the sponge and it's all pouring out into the deal, and you turn the faucet off, there's still water draining out of the sponge, so there's more trickling down for a longer period of time. You have a short period before this loses power when this is drawn down from a heavy maneuver. And so that's kind of like a cushion. And so chances are less likely that you would cause a brownout condition or cause this controller to reset, or any flight controller to reset, if you're using this right here, because this has some capacity to store electricity in while it's functioning. And so your voltage drop is strictly through this pass-through going into your backplane, and so your motors experience it, your battery experiences it, but your flight controller really doesn't see it unless you stay in a heavy draw on that drone for a long enough period of time that it exceeds the capacity of this to continue to supply an adequate voltage. but you get a more cleaner supply and more reliable supply using this power module type linkage. And usually you'll end up having to clip this off because there's no connector on the backplanes on the drones, and solder this directly on. If you can avoid that, go for it. But so far I've had to solder them on and resolder some that I've gotten drones in that weren't soldered very well. So that's kind of the power module type deal. I definitely recommend, these are super cheap. They're not expensive at all. So I definitely recommend using a power module in any drone build that you do. I definitely would say do that. Then I would also recommend you use a external GPS. And this particular kit, you can also get it with APM. You can get it with Pixhawk. But the kit's kind of pricey. So you can, with this right here, you got everything you need right here to build a drone, electronics wise. And then you buy a frame, get your frame off eBay. You can find them for, $50, $20. I've seen them as low as 19. I think 19 is the lowest I've seen for one of them flame wheel four-arm quadcopters. So you can get you a frame pretty cheap. This is around $100. And so like $120, you got a very large, I don't even know. I haven't even measured to see what the distance is, like 15 inches across or something. Huge, massive drone that would normally cost you several $100s. You got what you need to build the whole drone right there, minus motors and ESCs. And you can get ESCs from AliExpress for a couple of dollars a piece, up to whatever you want to pay for one. And motors, you can get a set of motors for, $15, $20 off eBay, and you're good to go. And so for around, I would say $150, $160, you got a huge drone that is much, it's not near the cost of what the rest of, buying a commercial one out there already put together with all that stuff. And then you can tweak it and do all the extra stuff that you want to do to it. And you don't get the fluff that you don't want. You just add it to it if you want to. And then, of course, you're going to increase the cost of your drone as you go. But you start with scratch. So you go out there and you buy a vehicle that has, Sirius XM. And you will never subscribe to it because you're not going to pay for it, because you're only going to listen to the regular radio that's free no matter where you go in your vehicle. And so you got a vehicle that has Sirius, and you paid for Sirius, but you're never going to use Sirius. And so this is kind of the other option. You buy exactly what you want. So you buy this kit, and you have the electronics covered. You need your ESCs, for however many motors of a build you're going to do, a motor for each one, and the frame. And you're good to go. Then as far as controller, whatever controller you want to use that you're going to deal with, if you're into drones, you have a controller already. And so you can use that controller. So anyway, I just wanted to go over a few things on this kit because I think it's a pretty good kit. These Pixhawk controllers. Okay, that's a little piece of plastic that everybody on eBay, new, used, and otherwise, wants 100 to 100. And I tell you what, look at there. It's got a micro USB. I mean, a micro thingy card. I don't know. My brain's fried. I worked all day. And here you can access it, put it in your computer. But it's got the card in it already. That's cool. I don't know what size it is. Let's look at it and see what size that card is. And it is a 4 gigabyte card. That is kind of impressive. Not really for cards, SD cards. That's it, SD card. That's what it is. Not impressive for an SD card, but for something like this, I mean, that's probably tons of space. And so these cards, okay, so this is a difference. You got in, aux out, main out. So auxiliary and main out. I don't know exactly how you would bring the input in. I guess you would come in through these connectors here. So anyway, this is a Pixhawk Pro. I've seen these things right here for like $140, $150 on eBay, even more. And I've seen these just this for over $150. And I'm like, no, no, no. I is not gonna do that. And so I seen this and I was like, man, that kind of has everything. And I can actually just cobble together a drone from whatever. This is something that a lot of people don't want to tell you. Definitely no drone manufacturers. But you don't have to go buy a frame. I mean, you can 3D print your frame. You can build it out of wood. I've seen a bunch of people on YouTube that has built wooden frames and mounted everything to it, and that's their drone. I mean, seriously, it's up to you. With this right here and the ESCs and motors, you can build your own drone if you got woodworking skills. So this right here kind of reminds me of B Cube. I don't know what that means, but this kind of reminds me of the Holy something version of the Pixhawk controller. So I don't know how good this controller is. I don't know if I like it or won't like it or think it's great or what. But I want to kind of save this one because I think it's going to be the best flight controller I have at this point. Because really the only thing I've got is APM 2.5 and 2.8. And so I think this is the best flight controller I've got. And the newest in supporting new updating firmwares. And so this is going to be a future build that we're going to do as well on the channel. And this is going to be a ground up build. And I don't know if I'm going to use, this with one of the Hexcopter deals. I'm kind of thinking I may want to use this with a Hexcopter. I don't really know yet. Y'all tell me what y'all think. But I think these are going to be some pretty cool projects that we can work on together and learn some stuff about drones and building drones and other stuff. All of my life coming up, I was interested in remote control airplanes and not drones. Drones didn't exist back then. I mean, if you were lucky and rich, you could afford a remote controlled airplane. If you were not, if you were super rich, you could own a helicopter. I was neither. So when I was a little kid, maybe 7, 8 years old, Mama bought me a gas-powered plane. And you had a little gas tank on it. You put the gas on it, and the propeller was spring-loaded in one direction. You put this little deal on it, which was like a spark plug, and you turned it backwards and pulled your hand out of the way real quick, and it would spring back the other way, and it would crank and start running, just like it would be a actual motor running. And so that's what they would let kids play with back then. Highly deadly propellers, gas-operated propellers. And so it had strings that come from it that operated the flaps or something on it, and a little thing in your hand, and you would do like this right here, or like this right here, and go up, down, and you just spin in circles while you were doing this. And that's probably the most expensive toy I ever got from when I was a kid. And you just, the plane would just do like this right here as you would control it, or go straight if you made it go straight. And then finally you would slow down and spin and make it land, which usually I was too dizzy by then, and so I crashed it. Pretty much is what I normally did. So that's what I had. But as I got well into my adulthood, and if you want to call it that, 20s, I think I come across a frame helicopter at a yard sale after me and my wife got married, and the kid in me come out and is like, I gotta buy that, and I bought it. And I told her I wanted something like that for Christmas one time. She got me a plane and another deal at a yard sale, which was some kind of whirly bird helicopter thing. Anyway, none of it worked. I couldn't get any of it work. It was all cheap. I never bought anything that was actually good that would actually work. And so I never got to that point that I could actually have functioning remote control vehicles. And so now this is kind of bringing the kid back out in me again, that I'm starting this series of all this stuff right here, and I'm kind of really enjoying it. And so I think that, and this stuff I'm probably going to, sell once I get it built, because it's not, I don't really have time to play. I don't have time to play, period. I don't. Um, but I can, I can, I can hide my childhood under building it on YouTube with you guys. And then once I'm done with it, I'll keep some for actually filming stuff with, but then the other ones I'll probably wind up selling off to get rid of, to kind of pay for some of the expenses from the channel. But anyway, so that's what I got. This is a pretty cool kit. I look forward to trying to do something with it, and we'll explore it and see if this is a kit that would help you out. I've talked too much, too long, and about too much stuff. I appreciate you. I thank you. I enjoy spending time with you, and I will see you next time. Your time is very important to me, and I thank you for spending it here with me. Thanks, and God bless.